Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us on today's webinar. Today's session will be presented to you by John Oskin, President, Sage Clarity, and Jessica Morrison, Senior Account Executive of Sage Clarity. Today's presentation is ABLE, Real-Time IoT Root Cause Analysis for Manufacturing Operations. At this time, I will turn the microphone over to Jessica.
Thank you, Amy. So for today's agenda, I'm going to be covering Sage Clarity, and we really appreciate current clients, new clients, those interested in the products, applications that we're going to be discussing. So again, thank you. A little overview about Sage Clarity, who we are, but the focus of this webinar will be our accelerator applications, which enable our data foundation and give you a live demonstration along with some success stories. And again, as Amy mentioned, please ask any questions throughout the presentation, and we'll have a portion of time at the end for Q&A. Next slide, Amy. So who is Sage Clarity? For those of you who don't know us, we are based out of Chicago. We have a global footprint. So we have Industry 4.0 accelerator applications for digital transformation. And what that means is we provide applications that are low code, no code, but can connect to existing systems that you may be using. So MES systems, EAM systems, SCADA systems, ERP. So we are unique in the fact that we are talking to machines at different levels, as well as providing applications for process correction, consistency, and being able to tie systems together. So we can look at line integration, plant floors, and we'll talk through that. Next slide. So when we're looking at Sage Clarity, how we are driving results, really again, with these applications, our time to value is very important. So we can reduce engineering time by 70% because of the algorithms, the logic engines that we have already built out. We have very high data fidelity. So we are collecting data at the machine level that it, again, can feed into your existing systems and provide consistent information across an enterprise and across your plant from different areas within your plant. So very configurable, as complex as you want to view or not view the information, but that data is available for you. So really seamless integration and able to connect systems, plants, and share really rich OEE information to you and your teams. Next slide. So today I mentioned we've got accelerator applications, 3 of those. And Amy, if you can progress. The first one is our next generation and-on system that's highlighted here. That will be our next webinar. We have a one view application that gives an OEE enterprise view of all of your plants, allows you to set different metrics. But today we're going to be focusing on ABLE, which is our data collection accelerator that has built-in logic, talking to machines directly, no operator intervention, and collecting very rich OEE data to empower your teams for decision making, looking at uptime, downtime, and additional information directly from the machines in between the PLC and MES systems or additional systems that you might have. Next slide. So something that's very unique for those that are on the call is we have data collection. We align with different compliance. So customers that, where validation is important. Our applications do not require validation. All of the applications and ABLE specifically that we'll be demonstrating and talking about today is a real-time application. We're collecting information. It can be on-premise, it can be in the cloud. But if changes are needed, there is no data validation required, as these applications are a no-code applications and don't require that revalidation. So very important for some of our pharma customers, as well as those of you out there where knowing that engineering time that can be required to make changes is very important. A little bit more about Sage Clarity. We have over 7 million transactions per day. That is with Able, so that's us communicating with machines, over 1,000 production lines, and that number is growing significantly. And again, clients that have multiple plants, factories, where we're able to pull information from machines as well as from the plant floor, providing a really consistent layer that's going to push information into the systems, the reporting, the views that you have. So when you think about how configurable the data and how you want to view it, that's where Sage Clarity is able to come in, pull that information, and give you a platform to view it as you would like. Here are just a few of our customers that we're working with, very strong in food and beverage, consumer packaging, with some of our applications, specifically on the and-on side where it calls for help, doing a lot in aerospace, automotive. But just to show you that our global footprint, our clients on the enterprise level are located around the world. As I mentioned, we're based out of Chicago, but we have a full-time engineering team, staff, support team for all of these applications that can be done, remotely. We can be collecting data within a matter of weeks and sharing that information with your team and connecting your systems together. So after that overview, let's jump into Able. So what is Able? As I mentioned, Able is really the foundation of Sage Clarity and our accelerator applications. And what we are providing is a built out a process of workbooks where we have automated data collection. So again, consistent communication with machines where we are removing that layer of coding, PLC integration, and able to communicate directly with machines by analyzing fault codes. And our root cause algorithm is able to provide high data fidelity. So we can reduce time on a lot of these projects by collecting rich information from your machines and then pushing that either into an existing MES system or providing we sometimes call it a lightweight MES system, where we are looking at your entire factory, the machines we're talking to, and showing if the machine is running, what the state is of that machine, and we are collecting that again in real time. So it's constantly monitoring, and you'll be able to see minor stops, major stops, as well as tie into other systems that are incorporated into your reporting and the information that you would like to see. When we talk about Able, what are we exactly doing? So we are monitoring machine states and faults. We are also able to look at a line, and what makes Able and Sage Clarity, this application in particular, very unique is the fact that we can connect machines and really look at the line root cause. So if there's a failure on a line that has multiple machines, where was that failure? Where did it start and how did it escalate, down the line to cause the entire line to go down in real time and able to show that information so you and your team can analyze the exact event, the time, what took the line down, and how everything kind of escalated or cascaded from there. We can look at conveyance and counts. We've got different operator views that are able to show this in real time, but configured to specific areas, again, within the plant and different users and the views that they'd like to see. Everything that you'll see today in the live demo is out of the box, IoT ready. Again, can be a cloud-based system or on-premise if security is an issue. Slide. And how does it work? So when we are collecting this information, so right here you can see an example, a bottling line. If a line goes down, the downtime is going to cascade. So it's going to cascade up we're collecting that information from the machine, from the fault codes. We're going to prioritize those fault codes. So on the right side of the screen, you can see the codes that are coming in. We have them in a very visual manner coded. So green running, yellow, maybe something's block starved. This can be configured again. And then red faulted. So as that fault information, the information we're gathering from machines comes into Able, it's digesting it as well as prioritizing it and able to show the entire line, the machines, and again, cascading the event of that machine and what ultimately took it down. And here's just an example of our fault learning algorithm. So again, looking at the root cause analysis. So when we are collecting information from a machine, as you all know, machines can, share a couple hundred thousand fault codes. When we come in, start collecting this data, we prioritize those fault codes and rank them to what's important. Now, this can change over time. So, with clients that have Able installed on different machines, as things change, we're able to continue to learn from those different fault codes, reprioritize them, but also visually show this information through our application on how things are being presented and what information is being shared. And lastly, before we jump into the demo, we also have an area to look at speed loss, signal processing, and data transformation. So really looking at speed loss, so uptime reasons, being able to calculate that. And with that, John, if you'd.
Thanks, Jessica. With that, I'm going to take you through a live demo of Able. So what you see on screen is what we call factory view. So represents a typical factory. I have a processing area, I have a press area, I have a work cell area, and I have a packaging line. If you have a very large factory, we can build this out as large as it needs to be. We can also create multiple views. So this might be an overall factory view, but if I am a molding area manager, all I care about is molding. So here are my molding operations. If I am an assembly area manager, maybe all I care about is my assembly line. So here's my assembly lines. So with Able, we can build this out as complex as an expansive as you'd like. So the first thing you're going to see, though, we have a simulator running here. So you're seeing machines blinking on and off, and we use a 4-state logic engine. So red is down, green is running, and then I have yellow and orange for starved block states. So that 4-state logic engine is the foundation for Able. We can incorporate other state models. We typically will do that on the processing side. So we can build out a different state model. But if I'm an operator and this is available to me on the shop floor, the first thing that you're able to do is click on a machine and see what's happening. So here you can see we've clicked into a machine. I can see the percentage of the time that this machine is running, 82%, and then the percentage of time that it's down, running on a forklift, a low fill, part jammed. We can handle up to 4 levels of downtime reasons. So if this is organized into a hierarchy, you can drill into these pie slices and get more details. If I swipe over, I'm going to get a downtime only view. So we're stripping away the uptime portion and just really looking at the downtime only components. And then we have some KPIs. So this is availability. So this machine is running 88.56%. Mean time between failure, MTBF, 1.38 minutes. And MTTR, which is mean time to repair, 0.17 minutes. So with those key metrics, I get a pretty good indicator as to what's happening. The next thing I can do, if I'm more of an engineer or a production manager, is I have some more detailed capabilities. So the next thing that we'll show you is this DNA view. And with this DNA view, what we're showing you here are the various machines in their various states. And if I zoom in, I get a little bit of a closer view, but you see how we're toggling between uptime and downtime events. So the green portions represent the uptime periods, red represents downtime, so on and so forth. How this is useful is if I go to, say, that assembly area. So that assembly area where I have a connected production line. So this is the layout view of that. I have an operation 10 feeding an operation 20, and then an operation 30, and an operation 40. And then this oval asset here at the top represents the line performance. So it's the one that's monitoring all the individual machines and summarizing it into overall line performance. But if I take that and switch to that DNA view now, what you're noticing here is that when machines go down, you can see how the downtime starts to cascade. So if I look at this sequence right here, I have an Op 40 machine that went down. It backed up the Op 30 operation, the Op 20 operation, and then eventually the Op 10 operation. And that took the line down. So these 5 events are really one event, all driven by Op 40 that started it all. And that's really the power of Able, is being able to go in and automatically figure out which machine, which station is causing the downtime. The other thing that we can do is if I click on this root events button. So with root events, we are now graying out anything that doesn't have root cause association. And then what pops with color represents those root events. So back to that sequence that I was showing you, highlighting that again, you can see how these events are tied together. That's the power of Able. So as a process improvement engineer, production manager, once you understand the nature of the DNA views, it can be quite powerful for daily production meetings to go in and talk about what happened over the past 24 hours. The other thing you can do with these DNA views is we can look at historical data. So the classic example is something happens on third shift and people want to know what happened. So here we're looking at a real-time view, but if I were to go and click on the filters button and pick a historical time frame, so we're going to go to yesterday at, say, 10 o'clock at night. I'm going to apply that filter. So the chart looks the same, but we basically picked up a historical time period. But now if I click on this replay button, what it's going to do is it's going to give me this split screen view. And so I have essentially, the line at the top. I can adjust this, make it, bigger or smaller, however I want. I have the Gantt chart or the DNA chart below it. So I can move that up and down into kind of view as appropriate. And then the key thing is if I now click on the play button, I can actually start sequencing through the data. And you can see here this line start to move across as the time period progresses. And above, you're going to see these machines kind of blinking up and on and off. I can pause that. I can fast forward it. I can rewind it. Let's just say that the incident that occurred was around 10 o'clock. So we're going to get to close to 10 o'clock. And you'll see here as I slow walk it, you can see Op 40 went down. Then you can see Op 30 and Op 20 go down. And then Op 10 goes down. And that's what took the line down. So for somebody that's looking at this historical data that has some context about maybe what might have happened the night before, being able to then correlate from machine to machine what actually happened can be quite powerful. Furthermore, what you can do is you can share this. So if I click on my share button, what I can do is I can take and copy this link into an email and then forward it to my colleagues so that they can view the information. Quite powerful. So the next kind of stakeholder for Able is really the maintenance manager. So I'm going to go back to that factory view that we started with. And with that factory view, we can create heat maps of this information. So I'm going to start and show you an availability heat map. So the coloring now is not, running in downstate. It's really availability. So you're seeing the availability index for each machine posted, and everything is in green except press 3 here, which is in yellow. And if I click on it, you can see it has thresholds. So anything below 65% is in red. Anything above 89% is in green. In this case, it's 81%, so that's why it's in yellow. But you can set those thresholds for the entire canvas or by machine. If I go to my next KPI, which is mean time between failure, which is how frequently are these machines stopping, you can see I have more machines in yellow, but press 3 is in red. So again, it's problematic. However, if I go to MTTR, mean time to repair, everything's back in green, which means when the machines go down, they're getting back up very quickly. So as a maintenance manager, I can quickly scan through these KPIs and get a sense for where the problem areas and the hot spots will be for the factory. And in this case, it is indeed press 3. The last bit that I'll show is around rate. So extending that heat map concept into a rate view, I can see what the cycle times are for these various machines. And again, are they at rate or not? So you can see a couple of these are in yellow. They have targets between 40 and 60 units per minute. So in this case, this one's at 55, so it's in that lime green yellow color. But again, it's a heat map concept, but in this case, we're applying it to rate information. So that's a little bit of an overview of Able. Amy, if we can go back to the PowerPoint now. Just to recap, so factory view that we showed you has these live plant views. It has data logging capability where we're capturing literally event by event information. Great visualization that you've seen in the demo today, and can be integrated with shop floor HMIs. So literally all this needs is a browser. So if you have a shop floor PC on the floor, whether it's an MES terminal, maybe it's an ERP terminal, or it could even be a tablet. Next slide. Couple of other key points on Able is that we are modeling machine centers, and with the logic engine, we're able to determine root cause. We call that intelligent root cause analysis. But a couple of other things is this really supports a PLC standardization strategy. Because what we're doing with Able is we're giving you very consistent data collection, and we're doing it outside of the PLC. So in doing so, we can copy configurations from line to line and plant to plant to really accelerate deployment. And as Jessica mentioned, we're improving the data fidelity significantly and reducing integration costs because of the low code, no code approach that we're taking. Next slide. Digital twin, I hope you found that interesting. It's the ability to replay data, fast forward, rewind, etc. Good for monitoring operations that are off shift, or if you're in a business where you have a lights out operation and very few staff, being able to historically look at this data and synchronize various machines and operations can be quite powerful. Next slide. So this is an architecture slide. So this kind of shows you where the solution stack fits. So starting at the bottom lower left of your screen, you can see that Able sits above the PLC layer. And it's typically installed on an IoT edge device, or it could be installed on an MES server or some other server you might have in the plant already. But then Able, as a listening application, is processing the PLC events, constructing the data to be able to feed an MES system, an OE system, and other types of systems. And then above, we have the applications themselves. Go ahead, and you can advance to the next slide. So I'll talk briefly about one use case with G&J Pepsi. So G&J Pepsi started with me in the data collection. They were really looking to get a higher level of accuracy in reporting. And so in their case, they deployed the Sage Clarity Able Accelerator across all their plants, 4 sites, and we were able to do that in roughly 4 weeks per site with a 70% reduction in engineering time, and ultimately giving them this real-time visibility of minor stops. So it's a great example of how these digital accelerator apps can really be deployed rapidly to start delivering value. Next slide. So to recap, Sage Clarity's digital accelerators drive results. So 70% reduction in engineering time, 5x improvement in data fidelity, because typically people on connected production lines will monitor the line level. We're giving you the ability to monitor at the machine level. Rapid deployment, typically a 4 to 6 weeks reduction per site in an MES deployment, for example. And then, the enhanced functionality that you saw today in expanding the digital footprint for your digital transformation initiatives. Next slide. So with that, we want to extend an offer for a free data collection assessment as part of this webinar. So for those of you that have joined today, thank you for your participation. But we want to extend this offer to do an assessment and actually show you how we can deliver rapidly and how we can drive savings in your business. So contact us today on that. Next slide. I want to mention that we've got an upcoming webinar in June. So today's webinar focused on Able, the data collection accelerator. June's webinar is going to focus on next-gen Andon. It's a process correction and improvement accelerator. So I think you'll be very interested in that next webinar.
All right, John. With that, we will be taking questions, and we have our first question. Our first question is, can I still use Able if I don't have MES or SCADA?
And the short answer is yes. I mean, Able can be deployed independently or can be deployed in conjunction with an MES or SCADA initiative. So both are possible. And if you put the accelerator applications together, you can essentially build out a lightweight MES offering from that.
Okay, thank you. It looks like we have a second question. I have a large factory. Do I have to put Able on every machine?
The short answer is no. I mean, it really depends on the business need. So if you have a machine that is producing, 1 shift, 2 shift, 3 shifts, there's probably an argument for advanced data collection to improve the OEE of that operation. If I have a machine that runs 1 or 2 days a week, it's probably not that critical. So when we go in and do an assessment, we usually will evaluate the equipment and make recommendations on what we think you should prioritize, but you don't have to put it on every machine unless it really makes sense.
All right, we have our next question. How long does it take to implement?
Able implements in a matter of weeks. So for a typical food and beverage factory, we could deploy Able on half a dozen production lines in a couple of weeks. So very rapid deployment and time to value.
All right. And it looks like our final question, do you offer on-site assessments?
And we do. As a matter of fact, as I just mentioned, we're offering an on-site assessment for everybody that has joined the webinar today.
All right. It looks like that was our last question. If you'd like more information about the topics covered today, please email us at info@sageclarity.com. I'd like to thank our presenters, John Oskin and Jessica Morrison, for an informative presentation today, and we appreciate your time as well. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and we look forward to meeting with you again soon.